Talking about a revolution. Good afternoon, happy Friday, and welcome to the Community's NFT space. And tonight we are featuring Sarah Main and Nova Bear, and our sponsors for our space and community is Meta Builders. Tonight's co-host is Bacon Sandwich and Tricky from DeFi Space Donkeys. How is everyone doing tonight? Happy Friday.
What's up, people? Yeah, I'm really excited to have the chance to spend some time with Sarah Main. I think she's amazing, and I think we're absolutely blessed to be in her presence today. It's Friday; it's the last day of the week, and what a week it's been! It's been absolutely crazy. So yeah, how's it going, Tricky? What's happening with you, dude?
Hey, it's Tricky Buddha with DeFi Space Donkeys. Another great week. We made it through to Friday. Got a little internet connection problems, but that's just the usual stuff, right? Everyone's going through some Web3 issues today, I feel like. But what a great space we got planned. Welcome Nova Bear and welcome Sarah, legends in the community. So let's share this out and maybe tag some friends, get this room growing, and yeah, hear from everyone who's here.
Absolutely. Yes, tonight we're going to start with Sarah Main and then move over to Nova Bear. So, Sarah, how are you doing tonight? Thank you for joining us.
Sorry, I was trying to tweet the room out and I got all stuck. So,
Sorry.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, guys. How's everyone doing? Really, really happy to be here, and yeah, really excited for the conversation tonight. Couldn't think of anything better to be doing on my Friday night. So happy to be here.
Love that from you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, speaking of which, I've noticed that you've been in quite a few of our Twitter spaces recently. So I just wanted to give you a shout out for for your support there.
Oh, no problems. Yeah, always a pleasure to come along and hear what's going on and support the community. So yeah.
Absolutely. But you've got a really cool project you've been working on recently, huh?
Yes. Yes. I've been working on it for quite a while now, but it's finally made it out there into the world. So yeah, we had the release on Wednesday. But like I said on that space, it was like it doesn't feel like the end. It sort of feels like the beginning, because I've just sort of been building and now it's out. But like it's a project that is evolving and ongoing and almost feels like it's got a life of its own. So I sort of got to where I got to, not through like defining a point that I wanted to get to or something that I wanted to achieve. It just sort of rolled on its own, and like things would pop up
It's
and
kind
I'd
of
go,
fluid.
oh, I'll try that, I'll do that. And, and yeah, so it sort of like was very organic. And that was what was for me one of the best things about the creation process for this, that I didn't have an end goal in sight, and that I started with something which was a piece of music, and then it ended up being like where it is now, which we'll get into, I guess, if you want me to tell the whole story, because I guess it's quite involved, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, my first experience of this project was showcased in London at Dolby Studio, and what an amazing place to host such a thing. Amazing audios, crisp visuals, and obviously the Atmos thing where sound is all around you. And I was blown away by it. I thought it was crazy. I'd never seen anything like it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So how it all actually came about is that we did an event at the Dolby Theatre back in December, and they wanted to showcase the Dolby Atmos sound. So they asked for me to send a piece of music. And so that's how it all started. And so I sent this piece of music, which was quite cinematic. And then the guys at the Dolby Theatre mixed that music in Dolby Atmos, and then we all listened to it. It didn't have any visuals at that point. We all listened to it on that day, and I I literally cried. Like, I was like, I've never heard anything so intense in my life, you know. It was
Sure, and you know, you'd been working on this thing for a while, and obviously when Dolby had sort of gone through their process of sort of, you know, upgrading the sound, as it were, it's almost like a 2D image becomes 3D, and it kind of comes alive.
yeah. It's like you feel like you're in the middle of a Sonic movie almost, right? Like it's pretty hard to explain. And yeah, I really want to go back and relive that moment in that theater. But from that moment, it was like, oh my God, like let's release this as a music NFT, you know. So that's where the original idea started. That Data Vaeda was already a project that I was working on with. Data Vaeda is the name of the project. It was a collaboration between me and my friend Jonathan Walter, who's a brilliant musician, producer, composer, out of Berlin. We've been working together for many years, and Data Vaeda was my way of bringing him into Web3, because I'm like, this is really going to like be great for you and your career. So let's start doing things together in this space. I'll lead it, but like you just come along for the ride. So that's how that started. So I decided that, you know, that piece of music would really be the sort of, I don't know, main product. We'd sort of been doing art supported by music before that, and then this was the point where we switched it, which I always wanted to do, and we switched it into the music first, and then supported by the art. Well, that was the idea. It sort of went a bit beyond that, actually. Like, so then, yeah. After that, I was like, all right, okay, we're going to release it, but we're going to have to do the premiere back at the Dolby Theatre, because that's where obviously it needs to be experienced. And I'm like, I need to make like an animation that's going to support that music. And I had no sort of idea that it would come out like it actually did. So actually, let's rewind a little bit. So when ChatGPT first came about, I wrote the story and the origins of Darth Vader, who are like two galactic sound warriors traversing the galaxy using their sound waves for good. And so I came up with this whole storyline, and I was sharing it with Jonathan. It was sort of like my little way of getting him more involved in the project, you know, getting him sort of like emotionally attached to it. So I had that storyline sort of ready to go, just a basic outline and like sort of ideas of the names of planets and where they originated, and you know, this sort of like a few sort of avenues to go to work with. And then when I got that music and I found like an AI animation generator, I was like, I realized that the quality of the animation would somewhat degrade after about 20 seconds. So I cut down the piece of music into 9 parts. And then I decided to break down the story into 9 chapters. And then I used the 9 chapters to create the prompts for the images, and then subsequently the animations that were born from those static images. And yeah, then it's sort of all tied in together as like one long, sort of 4.5-minute animation. And yeah, like I actually cried when that was finished too, because I was just so blown away at like this amazing new way to create something. And also the way that it's also every part of the journey is like a little special surprise. You know, not everything when you're dealing with AI turns out, but when it turns out, you're always like shocked at like the beauty that comes out of it, or the creativity that it gives you. So yeah, so when I finally finished the animation to go with the music, I got a little bit emotional as well. So the one that I premiered actually at the Dolby Theatre was not the actual, in the end, not the final animation. I was a little bit rushed for time to pull that all together. So I went back and I revamped it. I changed around. I changed a lot of the parts of the animation, and just tidied everything up a little bit. And then from there, I created the AR book, which is that follows the story. So yeah, people that actually mint the project get the AR book, and that contains the static images that activate each part of the animation through AR. So it all sort of ties back into each other. I feel like it's quite circular in the way that it works. And the two protagonists, who essentially were sort of born from myself and Jonathan, have now got a life of their own as well. They're called Aris the Fifth and Orb the Second. And I feel like eventually, like the way that it will go is that we'll actually sort of totally detach from them. So they will be their own sort of meta humans in a way and create their own journey from here on in. Maybe like just with us as the driver or the community as the driver. So yeah, lots of scope for more like creative paths with this project, and I just see it sort of like expanding out in a really beautiful way. So I'm excited to see actually what's going to happen with it.
Yeah, for me, one of the things that really stood out was kind of how fluid the visuals were. So, like you say, there's sort of a number of statics which the AI uses as a point of reference, and it even between those different kind of slides, it flows into each section, if that makes sense. So even with each scene kind of blends its way in, and then kind of before you even realise it, there's a different part of the story being told in the visuals. I thought that was just so cool.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about that process was, and we talked about this on Wednesday on the space that I did, the drop party space with Token Tracks. Alice, who's an amazing artist, she asked the question about like, did you feel like that there was something else outside of yourself sort of guiding you in this project? And I'm like, you know what, like that's exactly how I felt the whole way along, because it just sort of all came together so organically. Like I never felt like stuck or like I had to push through something to get to the end result. It all came together really, really beautifully and naturally. And so like that's why I actually cried when I put that final animation together, because I'm like, how the hell did that just happen? Like so beautifully, like it literally was a really smooth process. It just felt like it was meant to happen. And yeah, it's a lovely sort of story to watch, and you can sort of work out what's going on. Well, I mean, I don't know, it's a little bit abstract, but it sort of marries really well to the story. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the story is something that can continue, and like you say, it's quite a fluid project. It's constantly adapting, and you're trying different things. You might find some new tools that you want to play with, that you want to integrate. The scope for it is endless, because the limitations are your imagination at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And the more I started creating inside the project, the more my imagination opened up. So like it's literally, I feel like it is like an endless journey. Like it could just sort of go on forever. Like each chapter, like I could build like numerous pathways out of each chapter, with the characters, with the story, with their own storylines, like the creation of new planets, and like yeah. So I'm excited to see where it's going to go. Like I'm actually like, even today I found a new tool. I'm like, oh, maybe I can use that in the project. So it's actually like it's great. You can create like an avatar that like pops up in like in augmented reality. So uh, just say you're in your house and you got like a QR code on the door, you scan that, and then like Aris the Fifth could pop up and go, hey, good evening, how are you? Like, where would you like to travel this evening, or something like that. And I'm like, okay, how can I use this within the project? Because at the moment, the AR that I'm using to communicate with the community will be sent through like weekly transmissions through the characters' faces in the book. And then I thought that was a nice way to engage with people rather than through a Telegram group or through like.
So is it episodic like that?
Sorry?
It's episodic. So you've got like the plan is to sort of release, sort of a steady release of extra stuff for people to play with.
Yeah, exactly. And just, you know, just keep it super engaging and always have like little surprises popping up, you know, so that are more engaging than just like sort of the normal ways that we normally engage with each other. So so now they'll the characters will come alive and they will speak it to whoever has the book. They'll speak to them like on a weekly basis, and maybe like, you know, it could be for like a little competition or a treasure hunt or instructions to do something, or like just announcing like a special metaverse party or something like that. But I'm like, what if I could actually get those avatars as like real life, like image, like real life holograms in someone's house, and then they give them the message. Like that would be really cool too, you know. So I mean, and like I think this stuff is, we're so close to having all this at our fingertips, and our world having this like extra layer on it. I think it's going to be really fun, and I think it's only going to be bound by the limits of our imagination. So yeah, and I like being out there experimenting with it all. It's good for my brain.
I get the feeling you're a tinkerer. I get the feeling you're a tinkerer, and you know, you see a new tool that you haven't seen before, and it does something new or cool. I kind of feel like you're the kind of person that's just instantly attracted to the new shiny thing, and you have to go play with it. And then you'll work out how it all works, and you'll be like, oh, this is really cool. How can I use this now to do something cool with it?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, okay, so people are using that for that reason, but what if I used it for this? And you know, so it's like it feels like a big puzzle. You know, you're putting all the pieces together and creating new experiences. Yeah.
You said there's like two characters. Without giving too much away, could you give us a little bit of insight as to sort of you know, what their personalities are like?
Oh, God. These are like creating on the fly now.
But like just just a little bit of insight as to, you know, who are we dealing with here?
Well, I mean, they're out there like you know, using their powers. They're called spectrosonics. That's their particular power that they have, and that's like using their sound waves to fight evil across the galaxy and bring equilibrium, you know, back to the cosmos, basically. So they're using music for good, which I guess has like, you know, like parallels with my real life as a DJ. You know, you go out there with your music to uplift and you know, affect people in a positive way. So, you know, I see like there's lots of parallels between the storyline and real life, to be fair. Even like the sort of like the journey from Web 2 to Web 3, you know, fighting all the evils of Web 2. Bringing harmony to the world through Web3 type of thing, you know.
Yeah, all of those centralized guys. Yeah, they're the bad guys. Sorry, Rev, I cut you off earlier. You were going to jump in and say something there, buddy.
Yeah, no, it's all right. Yeah, I was just going to say, like, with your level of creativity, Sarah, and the equipment of Dolby and the support of talking tracks, it was amazing to experience in real time all of that combination together, because that was an absolute next level experience that I will never, ever, ever forget.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was a pretty special day. I wish I could relive it. I think for the next chapter we'll have to go back there. So I will let you know. But one of the things that I'm really focused on for the project is actually bringing it out into real life, you know, and having these live performances. We're doing our first one's at ADE, the Amsterdam Dance Event, because both myself and Jonathan have been like performing and DJing for many years. So I'm not sure how that's going to look yet, but it's most probably going to be like, obviously, like with some sort of get up, cosmic
I tell you what's going to
get
be. It's going to be fucking crazy. That's what it's going to be. If it's anywhere near what you did at, at the Token Tracks event, then
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm gonna it'll have those visuals, and it'll be that type of, that'll be that type of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, you'll have like lasers to play with and lights and all sorts of cool shit.
Totally.
Yeah, there's definitely going to have to be some warnings on the door for that one. But I was going to ask if you could talk about your journey as a DJ and sort of how that came into Web3. Are you able to just sort of give us a brief outline of where this all started?
Okay, yeah. I've been DJing since like '94, so I've been in the scene for a while. I fell in love with house music, so I started playing in Sydney, and it was a brilliant time. And I always say that the beginning of house music sort of reminds me, like there's a similar feeling now with the Web3 movement. It was like this air of possibility, like anything's possible. And it was sort of like the first time some like people in their basement could like make a #1 hit and make make a great living off that, if not like money that would sustain them for the rest of their lives. Like back in the day, that's where it was, the music industry. And then I moved to Ibiza in 2001 to become I got the residency for the main room here in Apasha, Ibiza, which is one of the big clubs in Ibiza. So I did that for about 14 years, and then had a child. So I calmed down somewhat. Still kept DJing in the day. I moved to a place called Ushuaia, it's more of a daytime party place. But as I was going along, I just sort of I sort of fell out of love with the music industry a little bit, just by being over commercialized, and also the way that all of a sudden artists were just, I just see my friends slaving away, and you wouldn't even get paid to release your music. It was almost like it was like a prestige thing, so everyone was spending money to be an artist, and no one was making any money. And it was just like, it just felt like a hard slog. It just like lost its sparkle for me. So I never stopped DJing, but I decided to move into art. But we'll go back to my art because I studied fine arts at university. And then the pandemic hit, and then I got into crypto and found NFTs, started releasing my art as NFTs, and then naturally wanted to get into music. Started working for a startup, which was a decentralized music festival. And so really got my teeth into understanding Web3, the ethos, the values, and just like had that same sort of excitement that I felt in the early 90s with house music. And I'm like, right, this is it. So that's why Vaeda is sort of like a result of my excitement and trying to pull. I mean, I know we should do that, but like trying to explain like the benefits or what it is to people that I care about and people that I think could benefit from it. And Jonathan was obviously one of the first people that I spoke to about Web3, or someone from like the Web2 world that I've interacted with using Web3 tools. So yeah. So,
Did you have to drag him kicking and screaming, or did he embrace the idea?
no, he's like, yeah, I'll do it. He goes, you tell me what I need to do. I'm like, make a MetaMask. so he gets it. Like we talk a lot, and I explain everything to him. I explain why I'm doing it and how I'm doing things, and he understands like the reason why I'm doing it, and he really believes in what it all stands for. I think the biggest hurdle for most artists that I know is that they're already like flat out with what they're doing and the systems that they've got in place for Web 2, that to take that another step into Web 3 is like just way too overwhelming for a lot of people right now. like I literally hardly have a life anymore because, like I need 48 hours in a day, as I'm sure you guys understand that, there's always something new coming out and things to keep on top of. And it's like, which I love, but it's not for this is not for everyone. And this is not possible for everyone to be able to, focus on what they're already doing and do a deep dive into Web3. So I think it's really important, and I'm always thinking about ways to like make it easier for people to get in. And I guess also doing all these releasing music NFTs, art NFTs, and creating these projects is also an experiment for me to understand the mechanics of what is needed and how things function. So then I can take that information and feed it on to people that I feel that they would get the most benefit out of it. Yeah. So, hello, have I been rugged? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, sorry, no, I was on another screen. So yeah, I mean, I'll be really, really excited to come to your next event. If it's in London and I can get to it, I will be there with bells on. Absolutely. So yeah, just keep me in the loop with that. And Rev and maybe some of the other guys that came before might be up for it. Maybe we can bring a small army with us as well to experience the craziness that we saw before. But I imagine you'll take it up another level.
Oh yeah. And you've always got to evolve. That's what we're here for. So yeah, it'll definitely be something different. There'll be always something different happening. And yeah, and maybe I think like the next step would actually be finding a club that actually has that Dolby Atmos system in place. I know Ministry of Sound had it at some point. I don't know if they still do, but like imagine that, like actually experiencing it in a bigger space. I think that would be quite intense, but you'd have to create a whole show. It couldn't just be one song. So
yeah, that would be an experience to say the least. I noticed that Tommy D's on the stage. Welcome, buddy. I'm sure you've got some insight. Obviously, you know Sarah very well.
Hi, Tommy.
Hi, kids. How you doing? Yeah, no, I just wanted to come in and obviously just say, fantastic, wonderful first couple of days of the drop. It's doing really well and people are really, really responding to it. So, yeah, great. I'm just super proud to have this drop. I've been promoting it to everyone and sundry, and it's just such a really cool, rounded, comprehensive drop. There's so many elements about this drop that I find really, really interesting. From a creative point of view, one of the things that people don't really talk too much about in this space is the creative opportunities, or rather the opportunities that are afforded to creative people with this technology, not just AI, but also, the concepts of scarcity and Web3, and the fact that we could, do something that we all take for granted, which is create a pass, which gives you a discount, if you own that pass. If you want an example of how Web3 sort of takes this engagement concept, artist and fan engagement concept up another level, it's something like that, because you couldn't do that with an email. You kind of could. If I gave someone my email and they said, okay, fine, I want to have this, I'm going to get in early on this product drop or this thing, right? They would have to email me back a code, and I would have to go in and use that code. Now, generally, that code might be a generic code, which means A, other people might be able to use it. B, would it be specific to me, that code? Yes, possibly, but possibly not. At least this way, by buying a pass, not only can I be registered with this drop, so at least everybody can see that I'm engaged, including myself. Everyone can see that I'm engaged. But this pass could then also be used for other concepts further down the line. And I think, this is a great example of how you can use Web3 technology to sort of just subtly take these experiences up a notch. So yeah, great. So happy.
I think what's quite special about what you're talking about there is it kind of adds a little bit of exclusivity. If you've got a brand that people like, and this NFT, unlocks certain discounts and things like that, it's kind of like being part of a club. And that sort of thing could be super, super powerful for brands. Like you were saying there.
Yeah, I remember doing a panel last year. or was it the year before? I can't remember. No, it was last year. CogX Festival, which is a great conference here in London, run by a good mate of mine, Charlie Muirhead, and it's actually all about it actually started out as an AI festival about 8 years ago, but it sort of mutated into sort of all kinds of different kind of tech concepts. And actually sharing a stage from someone from Shopify, and he made a really good point where he said, if you have a coupon, like the old-fashioned concept of having a coupon, like these magazines full of coupons, and you'd cut them out and you'd take them down to your local supermarket or whatever, and you'd get a discount off of something. The sort of the negative thing around that would be, okay, so you get a discount, but the brand itself would not know who was using the coupon. So if the coupon gets redeemed, that's fine, but they wouldn't know anything about the person that was using the coupon. And also the person that used the coupon wouldn't get any more benefit because they'd used that coupon. It would just be that one sort of sale. And he made the point of saying that with NFTs, they're like the next version of a coupon, because everything is interconnected with when one uses a digital wallet, and one buys, say, an example of an NFT or different types of combinations of NFTs. So I kind of feel really excited about. And this was always a thing for me when I first discovered NFTs back in 2019. This was where my creative juices were flowing. It was like, so really what you could do is you could start bouncing around between all these different platforms that you were engaging with, and everything that you did, every time you did something, you get like points that you would add to your kind of account, so to speak, the digital wallet. And those digital wallets would then be able to go in and unlock different exciting opportunities, because you had this combination of different NFTs. So, and I think, one of the things we're doing at Token Tracks is looking at how we can explore that even deeper. And so, even if you've got NFTs that you've not even purchased from Token Tracks, they will help unlock, benefits and concepts with an artist. And I think it's this kind of thinking that people need to have. It's this kind of really inventive thinking that you need to have. Just putting an NFT out there and selling 25 of them at 0.03 ETH or whatever, fine, but it's not really moving the needle forward in what this can actually do and where we can actually take all this stuff. I think everybody that is in this space right this minute should be doing that, should be thinking, how do we move the needle? How do we push things forward? How do we make the user experience more and more interesting and exciting? Because ultimately that's going to drive adoption. If you've got an artist with a large fan base and only a very small percentage of them are seeing benefits because they're the ones that engaged in NFTs, after a while you're going to start seeing all the other fans going, hang on a minute, what's that lot doing over there? I want a part of that. What do I have to do? What do I have to get a digital? Oh, yeah.
It's that exclusive club. Yeah, it provides exclusivity, and people do like to be part of a club. That's why people follow football teams and all this sort of stuff, because they want to be part of something. And another thing you mentioned there about was data. Obviously, this gives an opportunity for brands to collect data on their customers. And maybe make their experience better by having a better understanding of them.
Yeah, and I think this is ultimately what we're kind of evangelizing about. And I've started a podcast, and I recorded 3 different episodes today with 3 different people, and it was really, really interesting, the different combinations of conversations that we were having around all of these kinds of things. I think it's really interesting because one of the things that that came out today was, look, this isn't for everybody, right? This isn't for everybody because of where we're at right now. It's quite demanding on people, not just the artist, but it's also demanding on the consumer, the customer. And not everybody's going to want to go down that engagement road. Some people just want to switch on Spotify, listen to some music, and that's it. They don't want to have to go there for that thing. So really, I think what our role is at the moment is to try and find ways of engaging with those people that are interested in this, and finding ways, there's a lot of noise around blockchain and NFTs a couple of years back. So if you don't know about blockchain and NFTs, and you're one of those people that might want to know about it, well, why haven't we got to you? You know what I mean? Why aren't you engaged in this space, and therefore why aren't more people engaged in this space? And I think that's a genuine question that we have to ask ourselves within this space. What are we doing that is not getting the message across about where you can take this? Or is it that this is just a time, this is it, this is what we've got, this is these people that are in this space right now, at this moment in time of where the technology is and where the concepts are, is this what we're going to get? You know, in much like if you'd gone to a Bitcoin conference back in 2012 or 2013, there would have been 7 people and a dog. You know, it was literally like that, you know, and people were talking to empty rooms with 5 people in there talking about Bitcoin, and, you know, people just weren't interested. So, you know, it really is, it really is about like trying to work out what the next steps are for this. And I think drops like Sarah's are a brilliant example of what you can do with the creativity around this and with the imagination around this, and of course utilizing things like AI to bring this into you know, something that is genuinely wouldn't work without Web3 and wouldn't work without AI. You know, you would get something, but it wouldn't have quite the sort of detail and complexity and fun element that this has. And I think, you know, bringing the story alive using AI and bringing the story alive using Atmos and Web3 concepts like scarcity and you know, and passes and things like that just makes this a brilliant example of what you can, even just scratching the surface, do with this technology.
I think I think this technology being adopted is I think it'll be an exponential curve. I think that is coming very, very soon. I think it's a case that no one wants to be first and no one wants to be last, and a lot of people are kind of sitting on the sidelines, looking to see what happens with this space, and how people are utilizing this technology. And I think once someone sees something where they're like, oh, why didn't we think of that? That's when people will start taking action, when they can see the opportunity that's there to engage with people like this, and then subsequently onboarding more people by creating something cool that people want to interact with. Like Sarah Main's project, for example, I think it's a good example of something that people can interact with. There's going to be little nuggets dropped all the time, new things to play with, and I think that's really, really cool. From a buyer's perspective, there's lots of PFP pictures out there that don't really do a lot, and something like this is, it has real value, because there's some real creativity and hard work that's gone in behind it, to make this thing a reality.
Yeah, and I'm actually,
sorry.
sorry. I'll just say one thing, sir, and then I'll shut the fuck up. Basically, I think I'm really disappointed with a lot of these blue chip NFT projects like Yuga Labs and stuff like that. It's like, what are they doing? What are they actually doing out there? Where, I know they occasionally drop something that's kind of interesting, or another PFP project or whatever, but I'm really disappointed with projects like Doodles and Azuki and, even World of Women. It's like, come on, guys, do some shit. Do something that's really exciting. You guys are at the forefront of this technology. You're being traded every day. You're making a lot of money. Do something with it. So sorry, I'll shut up now.
No, it's good. I couldn't agree more with that, and that's one of the things as well, is that I got a lot of love for Meta Builders and Mike Smart, because these guys have been behind the scenes for almost 2 years plus now, as Meta Builders, really building these infrastructures and have been doing these events and really trying to showcase what you guys have been building also, and been building on top of as well, and it's been swamped over by a lot of these projects that are just PFP projects, such as Yuga Labs, that don't do anything but yet take all the limelight and all the credit just because they've got a lot of money and specific, companies backing them. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So I like I like the fact that this is a new way of engaging with people, and for me it's really important to keep it interesting and also keep it fun, so coming up with novel ways to entertain people and I don't know, engage them. So even in this drop, I haven't really told anyone, but there is I've put like a little secret message in the utilities, and I've hidden it somewhere, and I'm just like wondering if anyone's ever going to find it, because they'll have to find it and then they'll have to message me, and if they do, they're going to be rewarded. So like I'm going to drop like little things throughout the project that only I know about, and then just wait to see if anyone actually uncovers, the little secrets and the codes that I've hidden inside.
Sarah, do you remember that? Do you remember that book that came out? We're both a bit older than probably most of the people in this space. But do you remember that book that came out? It was you and this guy hid a little golden rabbit somewhere in England, and if you read the book, it was full of these like clues, and if you worked out where the clues were, you could find where this golden rabbit that was supposed to be worth like, I don't know, 10 grand or something like that at the time, a lot of money at the time, was hidden. And this book was a massive success as a consequence. I mean, this thing flew off the shelves, and it got like national news reporting on it, and then it became like these people were trying to find it. It was a really sweet little concept, so simple. It's way before Pokemon and all these kinds of things, but that was that sort of element of imagination, particularly if you hide them in a way, because the artwork you've done is so amazing. So if you hide it in a way that's really quite deep, and you could, we could start building on that a bit more, and getting people to engage it, and maybe that, like we say, we build a little golden something or other, and we hide it somewhere around the world.
Yeah, no, I'm totally down for that. Like, I'll actually I'll tell you after the space, but only you'll be the only person that knows what it is and where it is. But yeah, no, I've always had ideas like this. Like before any of the Web3, I had this idea. I wanted to create all these little like Lucky Charm rocks and put little messages, and then have some sort of like link that they had to go to. I didn't actually bring it into fruition, but it's like ideas like that are always in the back of my head. Like, how can I create these little games out there in the real world and just like surprise people? Because I think it stems from the fact that I love surprises. Like on my WhatsApp, it's been there for years. It keeps popping up. It's like my tagline is "waiting for the next surprise," just because. Yeah, because surprises are everything for me. So yeah, this whole project has been one surprise after the other. That's why I've been so engrossed in it. But to be able to surprise other people, like, I love that too. So yeah, I'll definitely keep putting little things in there, and we can develop that out a little bit more, and maybe speak about it a little bit more, because I haven't really spoken about it, because I was just like, do I just keep it quiet and just, maybe someone will work out what that is, and sort of like, send, and then I'll get a random message one day and I'll be like, yes.
Yes, Nathan, you have a question, my friend?
Hey guys, hey Sarah, hey Tommy, how are you?
Doing good, thanks.
Good. Yeah, as you know, we're always supporting here at the Crypto Mag. We're always supporting everything that you guys are doing. I wasn't aware you was over here, so I see you chatting away and thought, oh, got to jump on and show our support for you guys.
Oh, thank you. This is Nathan.
Yes.
Thank you. How are you?
Yeah.
Well, you're the one.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
the one
good.
that actually got the boys to come down to the Dolby event that day.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't make it, so I gave up my my tickets. The
Yeah,
generous
we
gentleman
appreciate
I am.
Yeah, massively. There's a picture actually pinned at the top of us guys out there en route to you guys. Pinned at the top if anyone wants to take a look. Thanks to
I see all the content you was doing with videos and the TikTok showing you on your journey there and when you was there and things. Yeah, it was brilliant. But yeah, we got just a couple of things that Tommy was saying. So I only jumped on kind of 10 minutes ago, so I missed a lot of what you guys were talking about. But just on what Tommy was saying and what Sarah was saying as well. I was actually, when I was working for Rupert Murdoch up in Wapping, we was behind a campaign, a marketing campaign, where Texaco petrol stations hid 10 Mercedes-Benz buried them, and they were buried under the highest of secrecy. So even the directors of the company didn't know where they were. There was the container companies had no idea. The lorry companies had to take them to a certain point. Then there was someone that dug them into the ground that had to sign NDAs, and this thing was shrouded in secrecy. And it threw their profits through the roof because everyone had to fill up a tank of petrol to get a clue to where these Mercedes were buried in these shipping containers. And the last I'd heard, I mean, I'm going back 2000. The last I'd heard, there were still 2 that had never been found. So there are still 2 that are out there somewhere, buried underground.
I could do with a new car.
That's it. Well, it would now be a 23. It would be nearly a classic, brand new, never been driven. So that's going to be super value if anyone actually finds it. But yeah, that whole idea for marketing is you can let people know about that. That's really, it's really clever and it's genius. And with what Tommy was saying, kind of who's doing anything different in this space, and I could kind of completely agree. There's not many people that are innovating. Everyone's recycling old things, and it kind of the things that have been proven not to work, people seem to replicate and do over and over. To get a fresh approach is brilliant. I mean, we're talking to a few companies at the moment that are pushing IVNs, which I think is great. Creating platforms.
What's an IVN?
It's effective. If you imagine, this is how I initially see that NFTs were created for, what they should have been. And everyone's, I mean, we was talking to William Quigley a couple of weeks ago, who's the founder of Tether. And when speaking with him, it's something he mentioned as well. And just for some reason, 3 or 4 companies have approached us about IVNs. But effectively, if you imagine, I suppose the simplest way of looking at it, it's an NFT with liquidity. So it will always have an intrinsic value because of the algorithms built into the way that tokens and liquidity pools work. It will always have a value. So at absolute worst case scenario, the NFT will always have 50% value of what you buy it for. So it will never drop below that. It can't. It's impossible. But recently, what kind of over the years, what's happened is people launch these NFT projects, and what they do is they effectively take all of the income from the NFTs. Whereas with the IVN, what happens is the income, they'll take a percentage, but the majority of the income actually goes into like a liquidity pool, if you like. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, cheers for explaining that, man. That was that's not really something I'd thought about was NFTs with sort of tradable liquidity. So it kind of creates like an artificial floor for the project, which is kind of cool. Obviously, people talk about floor price and stuff like this with NFTs, and normally that's just whoever's willing to sell their NFT for the least amount of money. But something like this is very, very different.
Well, NFTs are very much peer-to-peer. It's, it has no value unless someone wants to buy it. And everyone's creating all of these lovely pictures and things like that. But, the value is only to the person that wants to buy it. Whereas your absolute worst case scenario with IVNs would be, it would have that. Let's say you bought an NFT for 2 ETH. It would never drop below 1 ETH. It can't. It just can't happen because the way that the maths works. So worst case scenario, this will always go up in price. But worst case, it will only ever be 50% of what I've bought for it, that I've paid for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's kind of looking at. I think the actual maths takes it about 60%, but there's that 10% that will go to the creator of the NFTs, rather than them taking every penny and then going, well, you guys now trade it amongst yourselves. They're going, well, okay, trade it amongst yourselves, but we're now putting into liquidity.
So is there cut like a royalty on like transfers and sales and stuff like that?
Sorry, say that again.
So rather than taking the value of the purchase of the NFT, they get a percentage on that, and then there might be a royalty in that NFT that when it exchanges hands, there can be a tax involved that can then support the project.
There's so much potential with IVNs, and I think this is kind of there's not many people doing it at the moment. And I was actually thinking, believe it or not, I was thinking about speaking to Sarah about them, because I think if you could actually drop in, let's say, music NFTs as well, by doing them kind of as IVNs, that would I think it would be groundbreaking. You'd be one of the first people to be launching music NFTs as IVNs. Now, obviously, the creator, it's a bit of a bizarre one, because, of course, the reason artists create music NFTs so they can take control of their income. Well, you'd be taking a percentage, but you'd actually be giving people that bought it a more secure investment. So there was 2 or 3 musicians that I was thinking of after speaking with this platform, and Sarah was actually one of them. And I thought, oh, I wonder if if that would be the sort of thing she'd look at. But yeah, but the reason I mentioned that is just for what Tommy was saying. Is like, who's doing anything different in this space? Everyone's just recycling. And yeah, I mean, we're lucky enough to...
Sorry to jump in, just to be clear, because I don't want to be misquoted here. I didn't say nobody was doing anything in this space. I said the big projects weren't really living up to what they should, to what their potential should be.
Oh, yeah,
the big projects that are making money day in, day out, that, as you say, were at the sort of, in some ways at the forefront, particularly Yuga Lamps, were at the forefront of this as a concept. I don't see them building on that. I see them sort of sitting back on their laurels and just having a jolly all the time. And whereas I think there are loads of people doing really interesting things in this space that actually aren't getting a look in, because they're being sort of smashed and crushed by, oh look, someone else sold another Bored Ape for $1 million.
Exactly. I completely agree, and that's what I was saying, Tommy. I completely agree with what you're saying. Is the people that are innovating aren't getting that attention. So maybe you misunderstood what I was saying, but I'm completely in agreement with you. But there are people innovating kind of in the space, but the people that should be just aren't. They're doing nothing different to what anyone else is doing.
I know for a fact that Sarah is going to start going down a rabbit hole of this new thing that you've given her. We were talking earlier about how she likes to find new tools, new things to play with. So I think Sarah might be just about to go on a journey to learn more about that sort of stuff.
Yes. I'm like, oh, when you were talking about it, I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. Let's have a chat about that, Nathan.
Yeah, well, one of the things I actually asked William is, I said, look, like, what NFTs do you hold? He said, none you'd know. I said, oh, okay. He said, I don't buy these Bored Ape stuff, pictures. He said, to me, it has no value. This isn't what NFTs were created to do. And I kind of agree with him. It's just something that's been jumped on by everyone that can produce something and take the money off the back of it. He said, this isn't what NFT... And, of course, he owns Wax Network and founded Tether. And the guy's super clever. I was kind of in awe a bit chatting to him, but he's really intelligent chap. And I was expecting him to go, I've got a few Bored Apes, a few crypto punks and things like this. But he said, no, I don't own any, don't buy any, don't hold any. He initially come into the industry to sell skins. Gaming was his thing. That's where he was doing venture capitalist. But yeah, so but I mean, obviously, but I'm sure like meta builders, they would have a much more in-depth knowledge of IVNs than I would, if well, again, I don't know, but if anyone's going to have that knowledge, I'm sure it would
Yeah,
be.
I just wanted to bring Meta Builders into the chat there. Actually, he's got his hand up.
I just wanted to comment real quick. I didn't want to take the conversation off into Wax, but I just wanted to give a shout out to William Quigley and the Wax community. And that's where we launched our first project. And the utility there is insane. The interoperability, the negligible gas fees, and like so many different things that you don't get with other blockchains. For example, the pack opening experience and the blending capabilities, where you could take one of your NFTs and then blend it with another and get a pack opening experience that could potentially be like a music video or whatever. So if someone owns a ticket or owns whatever, things that you want to accumulate as something that adds value to you, you could tell your viewers like, hey, accumulate these. And then when you get 5, you blend them together and you get to watch this video that nobody else can watch unless they go through that blending experience. So I would definitely suggest checking out Wax and the Wax ecosystem for any type of gamification of NFTs for sure.
Yeah, FOMO is powerful. People don't want to feel like they're missing out on something. So that kind of idea of merging stuff and kind of getting almost an advantage on someone else, it gamifies it, and people like that sort of stuff. I think that's how you can increase engagement is things like that by making it desirable to basically make actions and to be active within the community and within the project.
Yeah, well said. This is a good. Before the conversation goes any further, I just want to take this opportunity to let's just reshare the room. We've got a great conversation going, but we could use a couple more retweets. So let's retweet the room and keep this going.
I was just going to say I'm going to have to have a bit more of an in-depth look, Sarah, than what I've been out of touch for the last few months, just head down working and pushing what we're pushing. So I'm going to have to jump on and see what you're up to now.
There's something pinned at the top there actually that you might find useful. There's a link there to some of the stuff that she's been up to recently.
Yeah, well, I think I've got one of your first NFTs, Sarah, haven't I?
Yeah, did you get it? You got to keep trying, which was also on Token Tracks.
I'm trying to think what this is the one that we done an after party.
Oh no, I know which one you mean. Yeah.
London.
That was at CB
it was your
Live.
art.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was your art. Yeah, I think I've still got that sitting in my wallet.
Okay. Yeah, I helped you get that one. I remember.
Yeah,
it was a while. Oh, good. Yeah, and I'll send you over all the links as well with for the project as well. If you, there's links up the top, but I'll send you a link direct to the website.
Yeah, but it's great to see you still smashing it.
Thank you.
And yeah, no, it's brilliant.
Yeah, I was going to ask you another question, Sarah, if you will. I know it's a little off topic of this, but you when we saw you on stage, you was also talking with 2 other women about women in Web3, which I just think's a really cool movement that you guys are doing. Are you able to talk a little bit about that before we got on there?
Just before you do, I just want to just jump in there and actually say that I think that we've got an opportunity to do a Women of Web3 space where we'll get a whole bunch of women in Web3 to come on the stage. I mean, we spoke about this at the event. Get a whole bunch of ladies in Web3 to come in and talk about the different things that they're doing. There may be totally different ends of the spectrum and totally different approaches to different things. And I think it would be quite cool to do that because, like I mentioned to you at the time, I kind of feel like there's a lot of women that don't feel like there's a place in Web3. Because they see there's lots of dudes floating about and they don't really see how they can jump into this thing. But the thing about this technology is it gives you the freedom to to do that kind of stuff. People might even need to know your sex in order to follow the project that you have and what you're creating. So I think that we should definitely showcase more women in Web3. I think it's something that definitely needs to be done.
Yeah, I've been very lucky. I've connected with a lot of amazing women in the space. I don't know. I think we seem to attract each other. So I'm like, wow, there is a lot of women in Web3. Yeah, a lot of the.
That's what people need. That's what people need. People need to have that realization that there are loads of women in Web3 and that they can get involved.
Yeah, I think where the lines get blurred is that people are like I think there's like different parts of Web3. Obviously, there's the crypto space and there's the NFT space and the music space. But like I found it very sort of male dominated in more in the crypto space, like the crypto bro thing.
In the tech side of it, absolutely. No, I totally
So
agree.
that side of it, yeah. Like my Telegram name actually was born out of my first foray into that scene, which is the first place I sort of landed in Web3. Like everyone got into trading and whatever. So I was in a couple of Telegram groups, and then my Telegram name became the token female because I was, but but then when I moved over into the art space, I'm surrounded by female artists, and we're all very supportive of each other. And I love that there's so many women in that space that support each other. And I've also found the same, moving into the music space. There's a lot of brilliant female musicians, and I think they feel a lot more supported in Web3 than they do in Web2, because the traditional music space can be overwhelming for a lot of women. I know that as a DJ, when I first started, there was only a few of us, and the years that came after that, I had a lot of female DJs come up to me and say, look, thank you, like, you made me feel like it was okay for me to enter the space because you'd already done it. So yeah, I think
that's amazing.
leading by
example. To have that positive influence on someone like that.
Sorry.
It must be really nice to hear that, to have that positive influence on someone, for someone to decide to do something because they're seeing you do it, and it inspires them to do their own thing. They get that inspiration. I also want to say as well, I mean, Tricky spends a lot of time in lots of different Twitter spaces around NFTs and stuff, and I'm sure he would agree that there are some amazing women artists out there in particular. There's so many women artists out there, just solo guys, just with their own project, just producing their own stuff, always constantly looking to add new novel ideas to the thing they're doing. Like I say, Tricky would tell you, there are a hell of a lot of artists in these Twitter spaces being given space to talk about their project, and there are some really, really cool projects out there for sure.
Yeah, well said. There's a lot of great people in the space, and I think that the time of discriminating on gender is really coming to an end. You don't need to have gender classification in Web3. It's all about your skills. It's all about your vibe. Yeah, absolutely.
Nathan's got his hand up there. Did you want to jump in there, buddy?
Yeah, I don't like just jumping in automatically. I just feel that I'm taking taking someone else's slot. I was going to ask you, Sarah, because of course we've been talking about. I've actually been talking about it for about 6 months in doing like a Women in Web3 issue of the magazine, because there's so many people. But just following up on what kind of Rev said, did you find getting into? Because I spoke with a woman the other day that said she really struggled to establish herself in Web3. But she's coming from a place of being unknown. Now, obviously, you're a legend in your own right in the house and tech house scene and the music scene. Did you find that helped you transition because of kind of your reputation already within the music scene? Did that make it easier?
To be honest, I feel like I had to start from scratch like anyone else, because there's not many people that I've met along the way that actually understand the world that I come from. So, if that did make a difference, it was to a very small percentage of people So in the beginning, it was like I was lost in this big sea of unknown, and just, like slowly step by step, and reaching out to people, and, just following the right people, adding, putting comments and stuff like that, and supporting other artists, and it sort of just grew in that way. And to be fair, it didn't take that long. I think if you're dedicated to entering a space, like I always felt like I'd get stuck, and I'm like, no, something's going to happen. It's going to I'm going to break through to the next level type of thing. That's how it always felt. I just need to sort of like keep moving and keep understanding and sort of like getting to know people in the space. So I think it's just being consistent and being open and supportive. That always works. And I still feel like I'm on the periphery. I still feel I've got a lot deeper to go, like every step of the way I maybe get into a new group and it'd be like, wow, like there's a whole layer of things that I didn't even realize that are going on here. So it's a constant learning curve. But yeah, I don't feel like a lot of people actually sort of gave me any sort of kudos for my past life, because I haven't found that many sort of electronic music artists in the space, and not many people that really understand this, like what we do, and know Ibiza or anything like that. In the music space, everyone knows Ibiza, but I think in the Web3 space, it's a little bit less unknown, lesser known. Yeah,
It's quite niche what you do. I mean, many years ago, when I owned my estate agencies, I actually sold Mickey Finn's house. And you would have heard of Mickey. But yeah. I was actually friends. He was introduced to me by another friend, a DJ of mine. And when we first, I mean, Christ, when did we first speak? A year and a half ago? With Ian? It must be a good year ago, you and I. But after,
yeah. Yeah, it would have been, yes.
But I remember speaking to a friend. So, look, I said, here's a name that because it's quite a niche sector that you're in. I said, here's a name that you might know. I said, you was quite in that Ibiza scene. His name's Dan. I couldn't tell you what his stage name was. I heard of a lady by the name of Sarah May. He went, what, Pasha Sarah May? And I went, yeah. He said, she's a legend. And I went, oh, really? He said, yeah. He said, she's brilliant. He said, I think he said she was in a movie, It's All Gone Pete Tong or something like that.
Yeah.
As yourself. And I said, well, that's not something that you'd ever mention. But because he was in that scene, he knew exactly who you were. And he spent most of the 90s in Ibiza. But yeah, I just didn't know whether that kind of had assisted you, whether you'd had any contacts, or because the general thought process as I'm speaking to different women in Web3s, I say this woman I speak to, there's not really many women in Web3. I said, you will be surprised how many women, very clever women in Web3 that are really making moves in the space at the moment. And I went through a few of them with her, and she's gone, whoa, I just thought I was like one in a million. And I said, well, no, there are plenty of people, but I don't know if they get less kudos. But I think people just assume it's predominantly a male-orientated space. Which...
Yeah, well, I think, everyone like looks at the space as like crypto-led, so they just look at this whole space as the crypto space, and that is, like, I guess that was the entry. That's the entry point for a lot of people. So, and that is, quite male-dominated. So maybe that's.
I suppose that had to have been the same with DJing back in the day as well.
Yeah. It was. I never thought about it though. Like, it wasn't something that I like felt like the odd one out. I was sort of like just in my own lane, doing my own thing, and like, music is music. It doesn't matter what source it's coming from. I think it's sort of, it goes beyond gender. So it never actually bothered me. And if I ever got any problems from the other male DJs, I would like I don't know, just look at them like they were a little bit stupid, because I'm like, but that's so like, that's so, you can't, you like, that opinion is so dumb. Like, it's like, really, like, you know, so I just never really took any of it on board, and I just sort of kept in my own lane. But obviously there were challenges along the way, but like there's challenges for everyone, I guess, in every situation. So.
Well, I think you could probably look back at those male DJs and go, well, where are you now? Where am I?
This is the thing, you know, it's the people that had those opinions that never went anywhere. They created their own prison by having that type of opinion. And it was you know, from the top DJs that I worked with when I got over here, you know, they were the most supportive. And there was sort of like a code of honor almost, where, you know, there was, you know, because some male DJs may be a little bit promiscuous, but there was sort of like this unwritten rule where they wouldn't be sleazy to the other female DJs, you know? So, but that was like, you know, when they were like sort of famous, like top DJs. So like they were the most supportive ones. It was you'd only get the sort of bad attitude from the people that, you know, never really got anywhere. So it doesn't really matter.
Well, as I say, I support whatever you're doing. I think everything I've seen you do has just been brilliant, and I've seen you create and innovate, and it's fantastic. Just keep smashing it, and as always, we will be here supporting and helping wherever we can.
Thanks, Nathan. Thanks so much. And I have to give a big shout out to Tommy, because when I met Tommy, we connected because we come from the same background. Like, he was DJing at the same time as me. He knows Ibiza. He's an amazing DJ himself. So I was like, yes, one of my kind.
Yeah, I think there definitely was that kind of connection, because I mean, the point that you said earlier, Sarah, which is actually a point I've also made many, many times, which is coming into this space, you know, really reminds me of being, you know, back in the sort of late 80s and discovering kind of this underground house scene that was sort of beginning to bubble up. I'd just come back from living in New York for a bit, so I had the double whammy of the vibe from New York with things like the Paradise Garage and those, you know, and Danceteria and those kind of clubs that were going on in the 80s, and then what was beginning to bubble up with like Oki and Danny Rampling and all those guys doing these kind of Ibiza-esque led events in London. And that exactly those points you were making, that kind of feeling of, there's something going on here. I love the energy. I love the kind of fuck it attitude, you know, that people have here. The sort of two fingers up to the establishment kind of attitude that was going on, you know. And actually, if you look back at that time politically, there's a lot of similar things that were going on. We had a cost of living crisis. We had a Tory government. You know, we had a very sort of extreme right wing government. We had like people striking left, right, and centre. We had rubbish on the streets. It was really similar to what is going on now. And I do believe that the environment that you have generates the kind of anger or the attitude that you want to try and make things better and different. And I do believe that genuinely people that are in this space, who are still in this space now, have that in their hearts. You know, that, yeah, of course you're going to have the scammers and you're going to have the bad actors and all that. I mean, at the beginning of the internet, at the beginning of social media, you had exactly the same thing. You know, the internet was awash with, you know, pedophiles and all kinds of dodgy shit that was going on at the beginning, you know. And so but things do settle over time. Eventually you find a kind of way of what you need is, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but you need regulation. You need some kind of unified way of saying, no, you can't do that, and then there being consequences to that. I know it's pretty difficult to do that because of the basic concept of the technology, but you know, there is ways and means of doing things. And we, you know, just going back to what we were talking about with AI, what you guys were talking about with AI and stuff like that, you know, there is ways and means of doing this. You've just got to, you know, they've just got to be worked out gently and sort of suck it and see kind of way of doing it. But yeah, I think that concept of acid house, I always think it's like the thinking of acid house really molded me as a human being, because it helped me kind of, realize that everybody's the same on the dance floor. It's that concept. It's that simple. And when you're in a club and when you're in an environment where the music's kicking off, everybody is the same, and it doesn't matter who you're standing next to. You could be standing next to a multi-billionaire, or you could be standing next to a street cleaner or whatever, although in this day and age street cleaners could be multi-billionaires for all we know. But you know what I mean? Everybody's the same. And I think you take that with you, and everything I do, I think, is modeled by that, or influenced by that feeling that, hang on a minute, let's just strip things back to basics. Inherently, I believe that people are good. They want to do good things for themselves and for their families and for the people around them. And yeah, you're going to get a few bad actors and you're going to get a few nasty people, but on the whole, most people are good. So what we need to do is give them tools, build them the tools to do good things. And if we can do that, then or more interesting shit will happen. My only concern is how it takes us away from the natural world, and the more it takes us away from the natural world, the more prone I think we are to potentially to severe mental health issues. So
it's funny you say that, actually. Tommy was talking about this the other day about creativity, and getting in touch with nature is something that can really help you breed your own creativity. Mike Smart's got his hand up there. I wanted to try and keep it topical if it's still relevant.
Oh, yeah, thanks. I wanted to say a few things. One, I want to be respectful to Nova Bear's time. We are 18 minutes over. But I also wanted to mention that Kane Mayfield vibes on a lot of these topics, and I wanted to welcome him to comment really quick if he wanted to do so. He's into the AI and music. He's been in the music scene for a long time. He got successful in Web 2 before he came to Web 3, and he has a lot to offer to this conversation. And I just wanted to mention those two things because had respect for Nova Bear and Kane. It's definitely valuable information from that guy.
Yeah, I think we had Kane join us a couple of weeks back, and he was just dropping absolute nuggets. I thoroughly enjoyed his presence on stage for sure. If you can jump up, mate, I've sent you a request there. You'll probably need to unmute yourself before you can speak. And Nova Bear, we will get you shortly, mate. We will get you shortly. Obviously, the conversation's kind of flowing real good, so we'll keep it flowing for now. If you stick around, mate, we will definitely get to you, buddy. Was there anything else you wanted to add on there, Mike?
That was mainly it, because I think that it's good. There are people in the community that are really vibing with what Sarah's saying, trying to find more women in Web3 to collaborate with. And so I would say to reach out to Miss Evie. She's interested in building in this space and wants to get around people that vibe with her more. So I did want to comment on that. But other than that, I just wanted to respect Nova Bear's time and to bring Kane up, because this is very much his wheelhouse. And, he's been doing some things behind the scenes with some people that I've been doing some things with as well that I think would be a great collaborative effort. But it would come best from someone like him.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of amazing people in the space that sort of work in similar areas and yet to cross paths, which I think is awesome. I mean, even Nova Bear is actually a DJ as well, which I just think is awesome, which is another touch of what you guys are talking about. And he also does a lot of stuff with augmented reality and, virtual reality also, which I just think is really cool. So there's a lot of crossovers, and I think that's amazing. And I like what you were saying as well, Tommy. You're absolutely right with that. So very well said, and thank you, Mike. Yeah, and yeah, Kane is an absolute legend in this space and in the Web2 space as well. So he's more than welcome to come up and get involved in the conversation, because it would only add to the value of it.
Yeah, if you want to jump in there and add something in there, Nova Bear, feel free, dude.
Yeah, otherwise we should probably move towards Nova Bear, and then if he wants to hop up in between, that's totally fine too.
I appreciate it. Look, I'm ready whenever you guys are. I'm just sat here patiently waiting, listening, and enjoying the show. So, just let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, thank you for your patience. And Sarah as well, thank you so much for coming, and Tommy for coming and supporting as well. We always really appreciate you guys coming along. Have you got any closing statements before we move over to Nova Bear?
Just a big thank you to you guys for your continued support and inviting me today. It's been really nice. Thanks everyone for coming, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing from Nova Bear.
Oh, you show up to so many of our spaces. It was only right that you had some time on the stage.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, no, you're more than welcome. We really appreciate it. We'll definitely do this again in the near future, and I'll be reaching out when I find out what this this little hidden thing you've got in your project is. I'm sure I'll be asking. I'll probably be guessing half of the time, but I'm definitely going to be looking. But yeah, no, thank you very much, Sarah, and thank you, Tommy, as well. And yeah, if you guys could, everyone who's listening as well, thank you for continuing to listen in. We hope you're really enjoying it. If you could please retweet the room, that would be amazing and very supportive. But